In Venezuela, the Bolivarian Armed Forces collectively rejected a new package of illegal unilateral U.S. sanctions. In the United States, activists and medical personnel demanded the release of health workers detained by Israeli forces. And in Brazil, Sao Paulo, authorities declared a state of emergency due to floods following heavy rains this past week. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news, and we begin in Venezuela. Caracas hosts the third plenary session of the International Communication Congress at the International University of Communications. Let's go with our special envoy, Yunus Soner, for all the details. Yunus, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon from Caracas, Venezuela, from the lobby of the International University of Communication. I'm here where the third International Congress of Communication has began today with a number of workshops, 7 in the number, dealing with different topics from artificial intelligence to digital hegemony to cultural sovereignty. Workshops are working on the idea of deepening an international network in the struggle of anti-colonialism, anti-fascism, anti-imperialism. But I would not like to talk too much about these topics on my own because I have a very distinguished guest here, Professor Luis Delgado. He is the Vice President of the International University of Communication. Thank you for taking the time, Professor. How are you?
For the opportunity. Thanks a lot. We are trying to think the communication in terms of the new problems facing the Venezuela, the people of Venezuela, but also the people of Latin America and all the world, because the communication is recreating the forms of the identities and the subjectivities are thinking the life, thinking the work, thinking the politics, and in general thinking the religious, the religion, the theology. And so our utopia is we are trying to rethink what kind of utopia can we create in Latin America in this situation, because we are facing a lot of measures, imperialist measures that are creating too much difficulties to live, too much difficult to making politics, to make knowledge, epistemology. But we are trying to think in our situation, what kind of world we can think, trying to retake the knowledge of our ancestors, all the persons who creates our civilization. So this university is not thinking the communication in terms of the European or American way that you create the communication like an epistemology. We are trying to rethink the communication in terms of our soul, our narratives, our identities, especially the identities of the youth people, but all the generations also, because we are here because the most old people in a big way take the decision to vote in this past election, because a lot of our youth people was convinced to travel to Europe, to the United States, or another places in Latin America. So our our goals is trying to rethink the world, but taking the communication as a weapon to defend us of the cognitive war, the imperialist and mostly the fascism, the new form of neo-fascism are trying to impact in our lives, and are trying the I don't know how to say, to attack our destiny like free people.
Thank you. And there is another context, as you said, creating an utopia, defending against an attack. But there's also a huge effort going on here, as far as I can observe, institutionally, like creating new networks, creating maybe certain institutions to create this utopia together in a joint effort in the university, with other institutions in Venezuela, but even beyond Venezuela within international cooperations, as I see here several guests from other countries, even from other continents. Can you explain us a little bit on that, the institutional perspective of this network of communication?
In Venezuela, we are trying to rethink the communication also in the technological way. teleSUR is a good example, but we have Radio del Sur, we have a lot of new centers for rethinking the communication, but our system is not focused in the technology, but we're trying to rethink in the communication in terms of what is the communication which has the power to create new identities, new subjectivities, able to resist the impact of the narratives, the imperialist and the American way of life narratives, which are very strong in our countries, but we observe these narratives are. It is possible to defend us of these narratives, but the institutions are the second one. The first one is trying to rethink who are we, where are our strengths, where are where is our deep soul like people, not just in Venezuela, but in the Andean people in Latin America, the Caribbean people. And for this reason, the history is very important for us in this university. We have a lot of historian researching people here, and we are trying to rethinking the communication in terms of a transdisciplinary way, not in terms of a monodisciplinary way.
And what's the path ahead? What's lying ahead? What will be the agenda of the fourth Congress next year of international communication?
I think we are going to think how can the intelligence, the IA, is impacting in our leaders, political leaders, military leaders, epistemological leaders, and communal leaders, because the IA is creating a new world, and we think we need to put the IA, try to think how can the IA can help us to create our destiny, our agendas, and our institution also.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So the International Congress of Communication continues today and will also continue tomorrow. Right now are different working groups working on different topics, but something is very important, as the Vice President, Professor Luis Delgado, has emphasized. It is one thing about these institutions, networkings, creating alternative media structures, but there is also another deeper discussion and quest going on here in the International University of Communication, and it is the quest for an alternative utopia, for the search of the soul of Latin America and the entire global south. So there are two different discussions here, one on the institutional, practical, communicational level, but then there is, as the Vice President emphasized, there is the search also for an alternative utopia, which together are important to resist imperialist attacks against Venezuela as well as other countries of the global south. We are continuing to watch the Third International Congress of Communication here in Caracas.
Thank you, Juniors, for all the detailed information. I will stay on top of what is happening also today and tomorrow in this international convention in Caracas. Let's continue in other news from Venezuela. The Bolivarian Armed Forces collectively rejected on Saturday the new package of illegal unilateral sanctions imposed by the United States government against national state officials. Through a joint broadcast, the Bolivarian Army condemned the sanctions, affirming they only strengthen their determination to defend the homeland from foreign interference and imperialist pretensions. In addition, the armed forces rejected the reward offered by Washington for the capture of Venezuelan Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez. Furthermore, the national forces reminded the world they only owe themselves to the will of the people and not to those of third countries supported by leaders of the Venezuelan far right. Now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Palestine, health authorities recorded at least 4,500 amputations since the start of Israel's genocidal war against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian Health Ministry said that nearly 800 amputations were on children, while another 540 were on women. Authorities pointed out that the increasing number of amputations shows the magnitude of the humanitarian disaster faced by the people in Gaza. These figures make Gaza the region with the highest number of amputated children in modern history. Social organizations in the Middle East are denouncing torture inflicted by Israel to Lebanese and Palestinian prisoners. Through a statement, they have detailed that inside Israeli prisons, inmates are kept in the worst conditions and are subjected to torture. Many of the prisoners remain chained, cramped in small cells for up to 23 hours a day. These organizations recall that all prisoners must be treated humanely and that international law prohibits any attack on their lives and physical integrity like torture, mutilation, and cruel treatment. And in the United States, activists and medical personnel staged a demonstration demanding the release of health workers detained by Israeli forces during illegal raids in the Gaza Strip. Thousands of people demonstrated in several cities across the U.S., urging the Biden administration to take urgent measures to prevent attacks against hospitals and the kidnapping of active health personnel in Gaza. The government of Netanyahu continues its genocide against the Palestinians in spite of the express rejection of such acts by Israeli citizens. And the Russian Armed Forces neutralized 5 counterattacks by Ukrainian combatants in the Kursk region. The units of the northern group defeated 7 Kiev brigades which were in the area with airstrike and artillery equipment. During the operation, the Ukrainian army lost 4 combat vehicles, 5 armored trucks, and over 350 servicemen were killed. Ukrainian troops in recent months have intensified their attacks on the Kursk border area. However, Russian defense has managed to repel the attack of the enemy forces. And Russian President Vladimir Putin stressed the need to strengthen new regions' integration into the unified legal framework of the nation. In a speech on the occasion of Prosecutors Officials Day, the Russian president recalled the importance of continuing to work on the integration of the regions of Donetsk, Lugansk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson into the single legal space of Russia. Putin added that all possible assistance should be provided for their social and economic revival. In this regard, the Russian head of state urged Russian Attorney General's office to focus especially on the difficulties of the people living in this area, the Kursk region, and other areas close to the Ukrainian border. We now have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Found your break, don't go away. Welcome back. In the United States, authorities registered that at least 35,000 buildings lost basic services following the effects of wildfires in the state of California. Local authorities said that the wildfires not only left residents without power, but also claimed the lives of at least 16 people. Officials added that so far the flames have razed more than 15,000 hectares and destroyed nearly 12,000 structures, including vehicles. The state declared a major natural disaster and ordered the evacuation of at-risk areas. In Brazil, in the state of Sao Paulo, authorities have declared a state of emergency due to floods caused by heavy rains this past week. The area most affected is the coastal Peruíbe municipality. Over 440 citizens had to be evacuated to shelters habilitated in 3 municipal schools. Civil defense and other entities have been deployed to the area to deliver basic supplies to the affected families who do not have much food nor water, and whom are also complaining of sewage water surging through the pipes because of the floods. And in Bolivia, at least 60 families have been affected by the overflowing of 2 rivers in the municipality of Quime in the La Paz department. According to preliminary reports, the authorities and other competent agencies continue to assess the damage, while search and rescue teams continue to assist victims in the affected areas. The rainfall of the last few days caused the water level of the Cuyuna and Quime rivers to rise. Authorities warned that the risk of flooding is still present and ordered the preventive evacuation of inhabitants in adjacent areas. And at least 3 people died in northern Madagascar due to tropical cyclone Dikeledi. According to the National Risk and Disaster Management Office, the fatalities occurred in the communes of Rantabe, Ambondimanga, and North Aniburano. According to the National Risk and Disaster Management Office, a total of 999 people have been affected by the cyclone, especially in the northern region of Sava, with 308 people evacuated, 179 houses flooded, and 38 houses destroyed. According to forecast, the Dikeledi storm is expected to reach the Mozambique Channel this Sunday, and heavy rains may cause flooding, strong winds, and rough seas in the Comoro Islands and in Mozambique. And on Sunday, an emergency task force arrived in Russia's southern Krasnodar region after an oil spill in the Kerch Strait from 2 storm-stricken tankers continued to spread. The task force, which includes Emergency Situations Minister Alexander Kurenkov, was set up after Russian President Vladimir Putin called on authorities to ramp up the response to the spill. The Emergency Ministry said on Thursday that over 155,000 tons of contaminated sand and soil had been collected. The Kerch Strait is an important global shipping route providing passage from the inland sea of Azov to the Black Sea.
First of all, we need to clear a path to the ship. The distance is considerable. We will do this in the next 24 hours. We are literally making a decision right now on how to do this, what forces and capabilities we will use. If we succeed, we will circle the ship in that time, so to speak, and pile up sand so that mazut does not spread during storms.
We use expensive immune-boosting drugs because when birds have a weakened immune system, parasites appear, their resistance to viruses and fungi decreases, and this is very important.
The government has declared a state of emergency in 338 districts of the country in the event of heavy rain. The affected regions include Amazonas, Arequipa, Ayacucho, Cajamarca, Cusco, Lima, Loreto, Puno, among others. The decree states that the measure is intended to mitigate the existing high risks, the negative effects of the phenomenon, and to coordinate efforts to provide immediate responses. The government agencies must work together to implement urgent emergency measures and carry out response and rehabilitation work. And in Nicaragua, the number of maternal deaths dropped from 104 to 21 between 2006 and 2024, a 79.8% reduction according to a Ministry of Health report. The health entity also recorded a reduction in infant mortality by 52.6% from 1,916 children under 1 year of age who died in 2006 to 908 last year. Newborn deaths were 507 in 2024, which shows a 62.5% reduction compared to the 1,352 recorded in 2006. On the other hand, the document made reference to the reduction of chronic malnutrition in children under 5 years of age, with a percentage of 21.7 in 2006, while in 2024 it stood at 4.5. In the northern Indian city of Prayagraj, preparations are underway to host millions of Hindu devotees and visitors ahead of the first auspicious bathing day on Monday. Nearly 400 million people are expected to participate in the festival between January 14th and February 26th for a series of ritual baths at the confluence of the Ganges, the Yamuna, and the mythical Saraswati rivers. That is nearly 200 times more than the 2 million pilgrims that arrive in Muslim holy cities of Mecca and Medina in Saudi Arabia for the annual Hajj pilgrimage last year. The festival is a big test for Indian authorities to showcase Hindu religion tourism and crowd management.
It's a special thing for me and it's a very spiritual, and I can like all the best wishes. I am obviously going to pray to God that please fulfill my first wishes.
At present we are basically doing the mock drill for the Akhala Snan, Amrit Snan, which is going to take place day after tomorrow. And in the actual situations, whatever the force deployment will be, that force deployment we are taking into account, and we are doing the drill.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media: Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. We leave you now with images of the closing of the International Anti-Fascist World Festival held in Caracas. Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.